Hello everyone, we got a big close-up of my old head here. What we're here to do tonight is talk about X-Wings. Now one thing about the X-Wings, I have not torn into an X-Wing model like I have the TIE Fighters. Since I made the 148th TIE Fighter for the contest, I did a lot of looking over pictures, okay? So basically this one I'm not going to be commenting too much on accuracy. Mainly just going to be talking about the differences between the two models. The accuracy issues for someone else. Now, another thing we're going to talk about is this model kit is supposedly 7 years old. The molding for it's about 7 years old. 6-7 years old. Now, it's been around for a while, I know that. I don't see any dates on the box. There'll probably be a date on the directions somewhere. Okay. Funny as I get older. Oh, 2001, but that's Lucasfilm. That's not necessarily fine molds. The mold on this one, oh, this is this year. One thing about the TIE Fighters. Fine Molds made their advanced TIE Fighter last year, and then Bandai made theirs this year. So those two are closer together in time. These are further apart. Okay? So I'm going to reposition the camera. I have to get up to do that. I have the camera on the tripod backwards today for some reason. And we will begin. So give me a moment while you see the picture of the angry Batman. Because I'm wearing a Batman shirt today. Don't know why. There we go. It's upside down. To me it is. And let's see if I can zoom that. Oh, wrong way. Okay, that's full zoom. Interesting. I'm going to move it. I have to reposition the camera. I want the camera more here. I will leave the camera there. Let's open this box. First off, the decal sheet. On the fine molds, you get one big old decal sheet. Lots of colors. They are clean and they are unclean versions of each decal set too. Okay? So you can put weathered, non-weathered. It looks like there's two versions. There's red 3 and red 5. It looks like we got both red 3 and red 5 versions. If I've learned how to read those correctly. I don't like this camera angle. Give me a minute. I'm going to reposition this thing. That makes me happier. Okay? Yeah, that's easier for me to work with. Right there, you can see we have the red 3, red 5, red 5. These are clean, these are dirty. Clean, dirty. So they've done the decals so you can, excuse me, put them on weathered or unweathered. Okay? Most people just paint theirs anyhow. The fine mold stand is here. Oh, in the decal bag, we have two windscreens and some poly caps, most likely, because I know the wings move on this model. So we have two windscreens. One is separated, one is not, so you can pose it open or closed. I'm pretty sure that's why that's that way. Here we have a stand. We know that the fine mold stand is going to be pretty plain compared to the Bandai. We have one set of runner with the main body of the ship. The nose is one piece. We have the slots in the nose. We're going to go over that in a minute. And here we have the second runner, okay, of the ship. And the only TIE Fighter I can really attest to is the studio scale one, because I spent some time looking that over how it goes together, and there was a discussion I read on where some of the source parts came from. So here we got the sprue for the fine molds. Here we have the directions, and if you look, the directions seem to be pretty straightforward. You get an R2D2 or an R5D4. You do get both options in this model. Okay. And you can stick the heads there, so you could actually build one droid and stick the other droid in the ship. Now, for some reason, they're showing a few of the other models that they did not make on this page over here. I'd love to have had an A-Wing, a B-Wing, or I think that's a T65. Someone's going to correct me. I know you will. I'd love to have had one of those three, but no. Didn't happen. Okay, so here's the directions. And they are two-sided. It shows the pilot. And hopefully I don't have everything upside down for you guys. I don't think I will. I'll just check the video. Okay, so there's the direction sheet. It has a secondary sheet for markings and decals, or decals. Right there. Okay. There's a quick look at the box of the fine molds. Now let's look at the Bandai. Now the Bandai version, that is stickers. They are not weathered. Okay? There are stickers, they are full color. Bandai stickers are not the stickers you're used to. I've used them some. They're actually quite good. This thing is molded in color. Now, one thing you can notice, there is no room on the inside of this thing. Whereas, if we get the fine molds one, I don't know if we can see the underside of it without taking it out of the bag. We're not going to. But on the fine mold one, it is definitely hollow on the inside. This one is not. This one's got a lot going on the inside of it. Okay, an awful lot. This one comes with landing gear. The fine molds does not. We'll talk about that too. Secondary sprue, somewhat identical. Yeah, it is somewhat identical. Identical parts, top and bottom. You have the doors for the landing gear. The fine molds, I'm sure that's molded in. We have the laser cannons. They are not hollow on the tips. I know they were hollow on the studio model. We have the secondary sprue, which has the droid trench on it and the cockpit. Okay, we're going to take a good close up of that. We have a nose cone here, and here is the canopy frame. Okay, we have a canopy frame in there, separate, and the stand, along with water slide decals. We have the water slide decals with the stand. Okay, and now this stand comes with a separate exhaust port, so you can have the photon torpedoes going down the exhaust port. And again, this stand is going to be posable just like the stand is for the TIE Fighter, which is sitting to my right. Okay, and here's the directions, the X-Wing. They are full color. Fold out style. Well, they're not full color. They could have been. For some reason they didn't. And you start by building the wings on this one. And we look at the back side, they have full color for the markings. And again, we have two pilots, a seated and standing pilot. I think we're going to look through the sprues in a minute. And here's the color markings. I know this one comes with two different droid heads too, as well. Okay? And you can put the landing gear in, yes or no. You can have them opened or closed. It does show that. It shows them on the stand. It shows everything there. Okay, so let's get into the sprues and see what is different and what is not. I've already had one person tell me that they think lighting the Bandai one's going to be difficult. And I'll get into that in a second. The base. I'm not going to open these two bags, but what can I say? You have the plain fine molds, and then you have the Bandai, which is a couple of Death Star tiles. I like the Bandai base better. And again, I'm not going to really open the bags for the bases. I don't see the point in that. Let me go ahead and open this first bag here for the fine molds. So I can pull out the body of the craft, so to speak. Destroying the collector value of this model by opening the bag. So we're gonna find the similar sprue in the Bandai. I'm just gonna go ahead and open up the fine molds completely real quick and just set it aside. And then I'll open the Bandai one bag at a time and pull the fine molds over. That sounds like more of a plan than what I was gonna do. Okay, so the fine molds is all opened over there. Let's just pick this bag here and open the Bandai. First up, we have the cockpit frame. Now, the cockpit frame on this one, I don't see two of them, so I don't see you can mold it opened or closed. You're just opening this one closed. Oh, there's a glass one. The glass one is separate, so you can paint and mask the glass one or use this one with no glass. So you do have two on this one. Okay, the glass one's right here. So the clear plastic version's here. So for this one, you wouldn't use the plastic in it. That way it's open to the atmosphere. That's what they did with the studio models. So they're replicating the studio model here. All right, now pulling out the Bandai version. Oh no, the fine molds one's it's in the decal sheet. I'm not going to pull that out. We're going to leave that alone because I don't want to open the clear plastic and get it scratched. I'm going to open the Bandai though. Well, it's in the bag by itself. Okay, here's the Bandai. You do get two figures, a pilot sitting and standing. It looks like you get two nose cones. Here's one nose cone here. Here's the other nose cone. You get two different nose cones. Interesting. One seems to be bigger than the other. Let's find the fine molds version and compare. Here's the fine molds version. It is molded into the craft. And we should probably get the fuselage of the Bandai out just to compare. But we're talking nose cones right now. So we have this nose cone right here. And we're going to put it side by side with that nose cone there. Okay? Now, I think the Bandai nose cones come off so you can see the inner radar detail. But the fine molds do not. Now that looks to be the same one. The two marks in the center here. You guys can't see what I'm talking about, so let's do this. I'm going to have to watch my camera angles now. Okay? The two marks in the center, what I'm talking about are these right here, are not evenly done on both models. I'm lining up the panel line right here. And the first mark and the second mark, they're not evenly spaced. These are spaced out more than this. And this one is shorter than this one. Let me get the other nose cone and try to compare them, but they're going to be hard to compare because, yeah, this one's three-dimensional and this one's not. Now these are looking, yeah, these are exactly the same. I can't see any difference in these two. So this must be for a different filming version than the one fine molds used. Because this one on this side over here is exactly the same as what's on the fine molds kit. Okay? So I'm going to set that aside real quick since I got the bodies out. We're going to pull the body out of here so we can compare panel lines, details, all that fun stuff on the body itself. Now, again, the Bandai glass is here. I'm not going to get the fine molds out, but you can see the Bandai clear glasses right here. Let me pull the camera back some so we can see a little bit more. There we go. And we can start taking a little comparison. Let's compare the bottoms. First off, panel line details are not the same. Okay? Now, we're at a slightly strange angle, and I can zoom that a teeny bit. There we go. They're not the same. For one, there are rectangular protrusions in these spots that are not on the Bandai kit. There's two right here on the Bandai kit that are not here, and there are rectangular protrusions here, here, and here that are not there. In other words, they're not evenly done. Now, the panel lines are not even the same, because if you look right here, we have two really close panel lines, three very far apart panel lines.
Now this little detail right here seems to be pretty similar between the two kits. Okay, the hatch here is not the same. As you can see, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 raised details. This one has 2. The 4 notches around the edges are the same. And in the back, this has a lot of raised rectangular parts that this just does not have. Now, the panel lines are all in similar places for the most part. Not quite. The Bandai panel lines are deeper than the fine molds. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they're definitely deeper and more pronounced. Let's look at the top parts of the ship. Okay, and this is where the differences are really showing. First off, they seem to be equal length, so there's no scale issues between the two. I can't say one is the wrong scale and one is the right scale. They seem to be exactly the same length. But the panel line differences are huge, okay? Actually, no, they're not real huge. Fine Molds has them real light, and Bandai doesn't. First off, across the top here, there is kind of a wedge shape there. The wedge shape is there on that one. There's a little S panel, and it's not here, okay? If you look at the sides here, there's a lot of detail along the side here. You can see it a lot better on the Bandai offering. It's because the panel lines are more pronounced and deeper. Okay? Across the nose, we've got similar shapes. Notice I said similar shapes. And that's about as far as I'm taking it. The Bandai's detail is far more pronounced than the fine molds. Far more pronounced. Okay? And it's much easier to see the Bandai. I'm sure that is showing on camera, especially if I tilt it up like this. You guys can see them. The details are far more pronounced. Cockpit openings, the Bandai is larger than the fine molds, and I think in part because the Bandai has a complete interior cockpit and the fine molds does not. I think we're slapping parts down on top of the fine molds. Okay, photon torpedoes right there. All right, now having said all that, here's one problem I've heard about the Bandai kit. Okay, if we turn it over and look at the inside of the Bandai kit and look at the inside of the fine molds is just hollow. If I want to put blinking lights in that cockpit, I'm not going to have an issue with it on the fine molds kit because I got room up in here for a timer chip. There's no room for a timer chip in here because we've got too much interior detail. Way too much. If I'm going to do any blinking on this thing, I got to cut pins, I got to remove stuff, all sorts of goodies, because it's just too heavily populated in there. The reason being is these side panels over here. This little piece of paper wants to stick. We have side panels that go on the X-Wing over here to make up some extra detail. And these side panels are molded in color, and they fit together in here. You notice multiple colors on one sprue, and you can see where the sprues connect right here. They are poured together. You can see it. That is not snapped together. One time I thought that was snapped together, so I tried to take it apart. It broke. They are poured together. The clear, the white, the pink, and the red are all poured at the same time, as far as I can tell, on the same machine. So you got these side panels on the side of this, which means they need a heavier structure on the inside. So getting a timing chip inside this X-Wing is going to be really tough to get some blinking lights in that cockpit. Okay, so there is the fuselage. Let's do the droid trench next, in the rear of the X-Wing. Okay? And maybe the figures, but anyhow, I got the droid trench out right now. Here is the Bandai offering for the droid trench, right there. Let me bring the camera in. I'm probably calling that by the wrong name, but whatever this is the greebly back part of the ship, and the droid sits right here. You notice this has got some good detail on it. I can see individual links running along there. The grid is good there. I can see little details inside here. Let's get the fine molds offering up. Put it right on top of it. On the fine molds, the detail is there too. You can see the detail running around here. The difference is this, you're just going to glue a head there. Whereas on this one, you're not gluing the head in. You may put in the whole droid. Not real sure about that. Okay? The details are all incredibly similar. So you can see in here we got some details that match the details inside here fairly well. So it looks like these two parts are almost, you can probably interchange them between the two models. And not really, oh no, you can't interchange them because this one's wider. It's got a lip on the edge of it, and I bet that lip slides in the back here, whereas this probably glues down on top, and this does glue down on top, whereas this one's going to slide in the back as a separate piece. It's going to slide in this trench right here on the back as a separate piece. Okay, so they are not interchangeable, but boy, you're hard pressed to see the difference. The major difference I can tell is right here. Let me get this a little bit more centered. The major difference is right here. Okay? Because that does not look the same as this. So that part is good. Now the back of the ship. On Bandai, the back is more than one piece. Okay? Here's the back cap. There's a piece that sits down inside there. I don't know where that piece is. It's probably this piece here. If I had to guess, I could tell by the pin layout if I turn it over. No, it is not that piece. Okay, let me look through the Bandai stuff and see if I can find the rest of that. Oh, that is interesting. Okay, I got to show you guys this. This piece right here, that's part of the droid trench. That one piece slides over the top of this, so you can slide that part back and see this inner detail. Definitely missing off the fine molds kit. Okay? That's definitely missing off the fine molds kit. So I got to say that is there. Now here is part of the rear of the Bandai kit. The rear of the Bandai kit's apparently 3 pieces. This little white part right here is this part right here on this one. Okay, as far as I could tell, that was a plug on the studio model that they would pull out and mount the thing on the back. So they just use that to cover up the mounting plug. Okay, so you can see the difference right here. This has a little bit of wiring type details on it, and then we put this one over the top of it. They're the exact same size, same shape. The details are pretty close to the same. So I can't say there's much difference between them right there. Okay? Now looking for the rest of this, it really does look like the Bandai kit has 3 or 4 parts to fill in this inside. Okay? I bet that is the other part of the inside. Yeah, that would make sense if this is the other part of the inside. Will I go into the directions? I don't know. Because I don't see it here. Okay? Yeah, I don't. Alright, let's talk about the interior on the Bandai versus the fine molds real quick. Here's the cockpit on the fine molds. Right here. Oop. Everything's backwards and upside down. Here's the cockpit tub. Here's the seat. Here's the front console that goes over the top. And here's your pilots. Okay. Your pilots are looking a little, well, this one, he's just looking bloated. This one's got little tags all over him. So let's pull out the Bandai one, because the cockpit on the Bandai one is very, very different. Here is part of the interior of the Bandai one. Right here. This is where the display screens are. This is very different than the front half of the fine molds kit, which, yeah, very, very different. Here's the front half of the Bandai, and I lost it again. Here's the front half of the fine mold. Okay? They don't even look remotely the same. Details aren't the same. Nothing is the same. Okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. Nothing is the same there. Now let's find the cockpit tub on this one, because I saw it a second ago. Well, we can look at the pilots. The pilot figures. Here's the standing. Here's the sitting. The sitting Bandai figure looks a lot better than the sitting fine molds. He doesn't look so constipated or bloated. Okay? Here's the chair for the fine molds. I'm off camera. Oh boy. Down. There we go. There's the chair for the Bandai. The chair for the Bandai looks more like a chair. Okay? I'm looking for the rest of the cockpit tub. It's not on this sprue. It's got to be on the sprue. It is not on this sprue. Oh, where is that cockpit tub? I really wouldn't expect it to be on these two, because these are duplicate parts for the wings and stuff. Yeah, it's not. So it's got to be on one of these two. I'm just not seeing it. I'm sure some of you are like, yeah, I saw it already. It's over there. You're just looking wrong. I'll find it. I know I will. Because I've seen it. I know this is part of the cockpit tub right here. Okay, maybe that's part of it. Here's part of the cockpit tub. And I bet there's a piece that goes over the top here. And a piece, we already found the piece that goes there. This is probably, yeah, that's probably the back part of the cockpit tub right there. Okay, that looks about right. There's supposed to be a bunch of cables running back here. I know that much. They're braided cables. The fine molds kit does not have that detail on its cockpit tub. No, not in the least bit. Here's the cockpit tub on the fine molds. Looking at the back of it, no. There's supposed to be a series of braided cables on either side here. It looks like they just took some random boxes on there. So I'm beginning to believe that the Bandai kit is a superior kit for detail wise, because I know those cables are supposed to be there. Because I thought about building a studio scale X-Wing. Speaking of which, here's the droid. Where am I? Go that way. There it is. There's the R4D5 or whatever he is head. And on the fine molds kit, he's right here. He is bigger, clunkier, with less detail on fine molds. The Bandai's winning that one. Let's start tearing into the engines, okay? Because I think I've gone over most everything but the engine parts. Haven't gone over the wings yet. We can do that too. Here is the wings on the Bandai kit. There are two of them. They are top and bottom with secondary parts of glue on the sides. On the fine molds kit, it's similar setup with top and bottom. Okay? And parts that glue on the sides. Exact same setup here. So let's compare and contrast one of these wing panels. Let's get a similar wing panel to compare and contrast before we start talking about the glue-in parts. And let's fix the zoom on the camera just a little bit wrong way. There we go. We can see a little bit better now. And we got both parts on frame almost. Out a little bit. There we go. Now we can get them both on frame completely. Okay. Now, taking a look. It looks like details are pretty similar between the two kits again. This is better detailed than this. The lines here and here, that's a raised mark, whereas these are recessed. And I don't know which is correct because I haven't studied my X-Wings that well. Okay? Over here, this is a mesh pattern. This is a grid pattern. I know the mesh is correct. Well, I'm pretty sure the mesh is correct. Okay? Panel lines, again, are in similar places. They are raised. Yeah, they're raised panels on the fine molds kit, isn't it? I think they're raised. Or are they recessed? I think they're recessed. They're recessed on the Bandai too. The Bandai just appears to be deeper and a little bit wider. They're more pronounced. So they'll be easier to show up with weathering and less liable to disappear with primer coats. I will say that for it. Okay? Now what about the insert panels? Okay, that side's no good. Let's look at this side of their insert panels. And on fine molds, that is bad knifey. Here's one of them. Okay, let's get them the right way. Wow, panel lot markings are very different. But then again, they're different for different things. So I'm not comparing fairly. I think, yeah, they definitely go in different spots. But anyhow, the panel markings are a little similar in places and a little not. And these just have, the fine molds just have markings on them. These have some raised details in a few places. Okay? And these notches, some of these notches might be just to facilitate wing closing. Not sure on that. So let's start talking engines and laser cannons. And that's a bag I've not opened for Bandai yet. The fine molds is open. So let me set this part aside, that sprue aside. Let's start talking about this stuff. Okay, first off, these laser cannons. They were brass tubing in the original, and I forgot what the half moon came from. You look at the Bandai ones, you can see that they taper down at the top just a little bit. There's a small taper to them. On the fine molds, they don't taper down. And I know in real life they didn't taper, that they were just brass tubing on the studio model. So, I don't know why Bandai tapered them. Or I'm just seeing things. But they really look like they taper down a little bit. Now, neither one are hollow. And I know on the studio models they were hollow. Okay? I know that. So let's get to some of these other parts. This is where there's a huge difference. Let me line this up where you guys can see them. Here's the engine nozzles on the fine molds kit. Here it is on the Bandai. Look at that difference in the size of these things. The fine mold is much bigger around than the Bandai. Okay, that is one real major difference. Or this is the back. Am I comparing the wrong things? Ooh. Shame on me if I am. No, I don't think I am. I'm not comparing the wrong things. These are the engine nozzles, all right. Big difference there. Way big difference in size there. These are hollow, which will make them easier to light. These are going to require some drilling out to light up properly and look correct. So that is going to be some work. Okay? On the flip side, here is the raised part that the laser cannons go into for fine molds. Here's the raised part for the Bandai. And boy, they are very different as well. This has far more fins on it than this has. So I'm not sure which one's correct, because I never really counted the fins on these things before. But that would be something very easy to do, is to count these fins. I got the studio scale kit in there. I could pull it out and look. I'm not going to. This video is going to be long enough without that. But anyhow, yeah, these are definitely bigger than these. So it looks like the laser cannons and everything are larger on the fine molds kit than the Bandai. Well, yeah, the laser cannons are the exact same length when you stack them on top of each other. Okay? Laser cannon tubes are right here on the fine molds, right here on the Bandai. And if you put them on top of each other, oh wow. Fine molds is much larger than the Bandai. The Bandai stops here and the fine molds goes on for quite a ways. Now that doesn't mean much. There might be some build-up parts on there that are missing. I don't think there are. I think they're just much bigger. Okay? And these are part of the engine cans here. Let me put this sprue away. I can tell the two model kits apart because they're definitely molded in different color. Okay, engine cans. Engine cans. Now, I'm going to do a zoom on this because I want you guys to see that detail. There is ribbing detail all along here. A lot of it. Okay? And that ribbing detail is just not there on these engine cans. They are completely different in shape. Even if I'm supposed to compare this with that one, they're still very completely different in shape. Very, very different in shape. Okay, length, they're the same length. Now those are the same length. They're just very, very different in shape. Okay, there we go. Maybe I'm comparing the wrong parts, because this looks more like a direct match to that. They're still different in shape. The fine molds is fatter than the Bandai, and the fine molds is a teeny bit longer than the Bandai. Okay? Now the engine shrouds. Fine molds does have the ribbing around the engine shrouds like they're supposed to. Bandai has it too. The Bandai is far more pronounced. Here is the Bandai shrouding there versus the fine molds here. The Bandai looks better to me. Doesn't look like shapes just slapped together. Let me see if I can find the engine bells where the Saturn V rocket motors were on the Bandai kit. I found them on the fine molds. They're going to be in here. Wow, big difference there. Okay. Big difference. Okay, on the fine molds kit, we have these parts right here. They are the very front of the X-Wing engines. Okay, you see three you know what word I'm trying to say? 3 rings centered on each other. Concentric. Okay, and these are going to glue into these panels here. Now on the Bandai kit, they're right here. Okay. Now, if I change the angle of this a little bit and give the camera a second to focus, you will notice that there's more like 15 or 20 rings on there. These were the engine bells from a Saturn V model kit. I know that much, and they don't have 3 rings around them. They have far more than 3, so there's much. This is a more accurate detail as well. This right here is the part that glues on top of this, okay? And on the fine molds kit, you get the big flat piece as part of it molded in. Whereas on the Bandai kit, it's not. It's separate. Okay? And there's the vertical support. And I know that vertical support's supposed to be there. It's missing on the fine molds kit. But that doesn't mean you don't add it in somehow or it's not already a piece of another part. So yeah, it's probably going to be there. Just, I can't imagine it not being there. Let me look at the model box. See what the model box has to say about that. I can't tell from the box. I'll have to get the decals out. My eyes are too bad. Well, the box says it's supposed to be there, so I'm sure it is. Alright, anyhow. So the engine bells for the Saturn V's don't look quite 100% right. We got lots of details going around the outside of that. These are completely devoid of details going around the outside. And I'm not sure if that detail is supposed to be there or not, but I suspect it is, because I don't think Bandai would have screwed that up. They could have. I'll have to look. Okay? Anyhow, yeah, I'm a sleepy boy. Getting into this, I think I've pretty much torn through most of this and shown you the differences. The fine molds does come with landing gear. Where am I? There we are. Fine Molds does come with landing gear, so we can look at that. Let me see if I can find some Bandai landing gear. Compare that with right there. Interesting. That's a Bandai landing gear. This is the Fine Molds. Okay, let me pull them up a little bit and fix the camera a teeny bit. When you look at them, I almost like the Fine Molds better. This has some mechanical look to it, but I don't know what's going on with the underside of that foot. That's really messy looking. But I suspect that is what that is. That is the landing gear. There's supposed to be 3 of them. I only find 2. Yeah, there's the 3rd. Yeah, I think it's supposed to look like that. I think it's supposed to have that. Let me see if I can find the 3rd one on here. Shouldn't be too hard to find. The 3rd one comes in pieces. Okay. And you're getting very different shapes to them. Oh, I see why. That's not the bottom of the landing gear. Okay, here's what's going on. Let me move this. This is the landing gear for the Bandai, but there's a part that glues on the bottom of that. And it's not there. I have to find it, track it down somewhere in the sprue. Anyhow, what I'm going to say is this. I'm going to quit because this is taking some time. And I'm sure we got a 30-40 minute video again. A lot of you watched that TIE Fighter video. I don't know how far you watched it, but a lot of you did watch it. Hope you guys are enjoying this video. You get to see the difference between them. I know some of you were afraid Bandai was just going to completely screw up the Star Wars license and make some bad models, because in the past they have made some bad models. Well, hopefully you guys have found that not to be the case, and that was one of the reasons why I made these videos. I have built a few of their newer Gundam models, so I know that they do some good engineering work. Okay? And I just wanted to show you guys that the details are here. It's just as good as the Fine Molds. Just as good. So I'd say the Star Wars license is in good hands. The big difference is Bandai did not design this kit thinking about model lighting in the least bit. Whereas, I don't know if Fine Molds did either. Okay? You're going to have a harder time putting lights in the cockpit of the Bandai kit, that's for sure. The cockpit's better, there's more detail, you have an easier time of it. But, and again, there is no room for any type of circuits or lights inside the body of this craft. It is just jam-packed with plastic. Zero room. So lighting this thing, the engines aren't going to be a problem. You got the room for the engines. The problem's going to be the cockpit. You're going to have to hollow it out. It's one of the reasons why I don't put LEDs in Gundams. There's no room to put an LED inside a Gundam head. It's solid plastic. There's so many layers going on underneath. So lighting the cockpit will be a challenge. There's some nice parts on this thing, like it shows the radar dish underneath the... You can pull the nose cone off right there and see the radar dish. It comes with 2 different nose cones for 2 different versions. Both kits come with 2 droids. Both kits come with 2 pilots. Both kits come with 2 canopies. Now, if you have the Fine Molds kit, should you buy the Bandai kit? Only if you want both. I don't see enough difference between the two to go, oh, this one is so much better. Buy the Bandai kit. Just get the Bandai kit if you want a second one. Okay? I got it so I can make these videos. I'm going to be honest there. I'd love to build it. It looks like it would be fun to build. And the problem is, I don't have time to build right now. We are moving the house. I know the last video said that. This video is saying it too because it's much closer to reality. It is Wednesday, December 25th. Yes, Christmas. I'm up here doing this on Christmas Day.
And we are moving on Monday, the 31st. So I need to start packing up the model room. That means no working on Bandai X-Wings or any of that. Plus, I got 4 or 5 models that just need to be finished. If I do anything, I'm working on them first. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this while I slowly try to get my packaging back together. And get my parts back in their baggies so they don't get scratched up in the move. And I'll be back with a channel update pretty soon. Okay, that will be the next thing coming. Is a short channel update. So you guys can see the hobby room and what I plan to do with the hobby room. Okay? Because I'm going shopping on Saturday for stuff for the hobby room. Being honest, I am. New furniture. Because this old desk I'm sitting at now is going to go in the office. It's going to go in the actual office. We're going to have an office in there. I need an office. I have a small business and I do paperwork for the small business on a very regular basis. So having an office would be a good thing. Alright everyone, I'm rambling. I will see you guys later.